Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. So I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Jake, Belinda, and we're going to talk whatever we feel like. So, Jake, can you go ahead and kind of give an introduction of who you are and what you do?
So I just became full-time, basically media production, videography, photography in the outdoor industry. That's what I've been focusing on. It's been a long journey to get here, a couple years of grinding until I could finally kind of take it half-time to full-time. And this is going to be my first full year from working for myself, so to speak. But my background I was a professional athlete after college. I played college baseball and then got drafted in 2017 to the Atlanta Braves. Played there for a brief moment until I got released. Injuries. There's just a whole number of things at the professional level on how to get, that's a whole nother story and ball game. But then after I was done playing professionally, I wanted to basically find another, that was the life goal, was to play professional baseball. So once that came crashing down, it kind of left me back at square one. I went to college to play baseball. I didn't go to college for a degree. It was always like the number one goal, and I made it happen, but only for a short period of time. So then I was like, okay, I want to do something in the outdoors. That brought me to how can I obtain basically hunting for a living. And I had to be creative and bounce all over the place with ideas until I finally got into the media side of things. And just being self-taught my whole life. And that's kind of where it brought me today.
So that's pretty cool that you taught yourself and now you're actually doing it. So 2017, Atlanta, I went to school with a girl. Her brother was a little bit younger than me. And he played, I thought he played for Atlanta, but Tanner Rourke, I think he played for Atlanta. I don't know. Maybe.
There's not a lot of guys, but it's hard to keep up with all the names. And everybody's bouncing through the system so quick.
I think when was it, when the Cubs were in the World Series, he played against them or something like that. He was pitching, so pretty cool for him. So anyway, never mind. If you don't know him, you don't know him. Whatever. But
all good.
Yeah. He played in major leagues, and then it's kind of cool though. You taught yourself film and everything. I mean, just YouTube and, like you said, an internship or how?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I basically came home and was like, okay, how can I make this happen? So I worked construction. Just being a grunt, I just followed the money for the short amount of time just to bankroll some money and stuff. But the goal was every fall to film as much as I could. So I bought a camera in the summer, started monkeying with it, getting better with it. I always had a knack for photography, just cell phones. And then my dad had an old camera. It's just, and I used to kind of vlog stuff when I was young. So it just kind of was something I always did, but just not serious. So then I took an internship with the Untamed back in 2020. I was already self-taught for about a year at that point, but I didn't have any professional outdoor related experience. So meaning like how the ins and outs of the industry work, what you need to obtain on the business side of things, the daily grind, the ins and outs. So I took that, and out of a whim, it worked out. Josh, I mean, he's one of the greatest guys I've ever had the pleasure to hunt with. He's hilarious, and they have a super successful channel. So it was a good fit for me being, an East Coast guy, not having to travel extensive amount of distance. I went 5 hours, lived down there for a fall, and that was kind of my foot in the door. And then from there, I just kept progressing. That led me to connections, led me to other things, and then it's just never ending networking, teaching yourself, YouTube videos, upgrading equipment, and just grinding it. Um, but everybody's path's a little different. I worked really hard, like 75% of the year, and then I just had the opportunity. I took the money that I made and didn't have a lot of bills, so then I just traveled and hunted for the fall.
Nice.
Just went cheap as possible, slept in my truck, um, doing the hardcore out of state hunts, driving all through the night, sleep in your vehicle to save money, get $100 in groceries, eat peanut butter and jelly for 3-4 days straight, just hunt as much as humanly possible.
That,
Um,
that's
and that's
great.
kind of what I did for like 2 years. And then I finally got um, some money, and it started getting connections, and then picked up a sponsor because when you do it a lot, then you have a plethora of content, and I got better at my craft over the period of time, and it's been like 3.5 years now, and then finally this year taking it full time. Um, so it's been a grind. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
that goes on, but doing bridge work, holding. I used to chip bridges out with a 60-pound chipping hammer overhead stuff in the cities. I'd drive 3 hours to work,
Yep.
because that's where the best rate money was, that I could find, and I just do the hardest possible job that nobody wanted to do for the most money for the summer, and then just leave. I just straight the fall would come, and I would just be like, "Hey, boss, I'm out of here." Like, great working for you. I showed up every day, I just never quit. It was just one of those, and I think I got that from sports.
Yeah.
Um, it was that never quit. Showed up every day on time, was present, did my job. But when it came time to, like, I had a goal and an ambition and a dream in mind, I was like, I know how to get there, and I just went for it.
No, that's awesome, man. Good for you. So what I gotta ask, what was the first camera then? What'd you use?
I bought an A6500. That
Okay.
was the very first camera I bought. And then from there, I upgraded to an A7 III, and then I have since upgraded, yet again. I actually had two A7 IIIs. I would run two bodies, a plethora of lenses.
Was one like a video body and the other one was a photography body, or what'd you do?
Yeah, so one was more for, it was my zoom lenses. It was set up. I would keep the lens on a tripod, just so I could attach the body quickly and have a quick zoom attachment. And then the other one was more for the secondary angles, instead of the GoPro.
Nice. Nice.
And I also have GoPros, and I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it, but how I liked it was, one body specifically for long, one for short.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's pretty cool. So what was the Untamed? I don't know if I'm familiar with that or not, actually. I feel like an
Um,
idiot, but uh, there's a lot of things people tell me, and I'm like, no, I honestly don't know what that is. I don't watch a lot of TV, so is it like on a network or?
they're a YouTube channel. So they're known for running hounds, for bears in West Virginia. That's kind of that was their bread and butter for a while. They've been getting bigger and bigger for the whitetail things because Josh has always been a ground hunter, um, killing big bucks in West Virginia on the ground with his bow. Um, but that that's kind of their known thing. They've hunted with the hunting public, a few times, born and raised. Um, they got a pretty successful channel. And they got a lot of, they got a big, they came into it perfect timing, did great, have a bunch of killer videos, kill turkeys, deer, a lot of bears, and just they're continuing to build, and they're just a great group of guys.
No, that's cool. So then, what's your project you're working on yourself then?
So I went branched out on my own, like I said, about a year and a half ago, and this year I created, it's called The Void. So I have The Void Media, which is my business, and then The Void Hunt, which is basically my hunting, all my adventures. So then all that's going to be on YouTube, and then I mean that's going to be the basis and the start. A lot of the stuff that if you go through my socials, a lot of the hunts are going to be out there. The past 2 or 3 years, I have them on footage. So those I'm going to be dropping those throughout this summer and be caught up by the fall, and then the fall is going to be all new content.
Nice. So, where's the name The Void come from?
So the void is basically, for me, it was I was filling the void of not having baseball in my life anymore with the outdoors. So whenever baseball was literally it. That's all eat, sleep, and breathe baseball. And when that was done, I was kind of empty, so to speak, feeling, and the outdoors was the only thing that gave me like that rush and that just central focused mindset. So I was filling the void of like everyday life with the outdoors. And I just basically shortened it to the void, because every person, and it's really connectable to your reason why you're going in, you're either hunting, fishing, hiking, going out in the outdoors. You're either getting away from the fast-paced life. There's always a back reason on what you're doing. So you're filling that void of the outdoors with something else that's been going on in your life.
No, I think that's great. I mean, so many people have that void, and once they end up going in nature, they realize that that was the void, is that disconnect from the natural world, and escaping from the man-made, the created world, the so-called matrix that we all live in.
Yes.
So no, that I think that's great. So what kind of content are people going to be looking at then?
So the first couple things probably rolling out are going to be like an antelope hunt that I did 2 years ago. Probably a whitetail hunt that I killed a nice buck here in Pennsylvania. Another Pennsylvania hunt that I got really close on a couple big deer. Just some mountain buck content stuff. So some big woods, public ground, grinding. That's all I've kind of been doing my whole life, is just bouncing all over public across the nation. I've on one hand I could count when I've hunted private my whole life. Um, Growing up, I have uncles that own property 30 minutes from me, and I still go to public. People like the people that are locally that know me think I'm crazy because my uncle owns 2,000 acres of some of the best hunting ground that they think in the country. But I hunt public above my house.
You know, uh, I gotta say, I do similar. It's just one of those things that that whole public dynamic is fun. Trying to figure out the other people, figure out the animals, pattern it, never knowing what you might run into, having that like mysterious mystique to it. I
Yeah.
think is what really draws me into. So I understand a lot of people might think you're crazy, but I don't like going to preset stands. I don't like going to stuff to where everybody's been hunting the same ground for years and years and years, and you're waiting for it to step into a food plot and then take this target buck. If that's your thing, I don't judge it because I still think it's cool, and those monsters on the wall are amazing, and I'll probably never have those in my lifetime. you
Yep.
know. But I definitely think there's something to me that's more appealing of just never quite knowing and having that mystery to it.
Yeah, and then that they're two completely different dynamics. It takes a lot of hard work to grow big deer on private and to pattern them. I mean, I don't knock any guys, but
Yeah.
then we the public ground guys don't necessarily have that opportunity, so they got to go in not knowing who was there just the day before, maybe, or what was going on. So there's a whole nother challenge to it. That's the pressure side of things. So that's kind of what I've gotten good at over the years is learning to hunt people pressure,
Yeah.
um, and getting away from pressure to finding deer, not in where the deer should be, because there's a lot of ground. I'm sure it's the same. I mean, I've seen it across the nation. It's like, this is great habitat. There should be deer here, like a big buck. There might be, but it might be nocturnal because there's too much human pressure and human um, interference with that habitat, and things will not live there. They will come to, I call it like vacation, for a
Right.
small period of time, and then they go back to
Yeah.
their hiding.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I don't know if do you guys have like any kind of windshield permits or anything like that that you guys have to do for hunting on public or anything?
no, that is something that I brought it up to a couple people's attention that I think moving forward, I think it would be a good public land use fee just as a base permit. That's something that I believe in. And it's because we have in Pennsylvania, we have game lands, which is managed for hunting specific. We have state forest land. We also have national forest, and we have other state land properties. But game land specifically is managed for game and songbirds and wildlife. Um, but it's open to public, and there's a lot of people that use it to walk their dogs and and do that. But it's, my thing is I can't go hunt a dog park.
Right.
That's but our $100 are paying for the upkeep of that specific ground. So if we just had a blanket statement of a public use fee, like you do out in some of the Western states, a $5 fee just to be able to use public access,
Yeah.
uh, I think it would be beneficiary to the entire state as a whole, because it covers everybody.
Right. So we have windshield permits in Illinois. They don't actually cost anything, but you have to have them in order to use the public land for hunting. And so I'm an idiot. I'm just going to come out and say that. Uh, I printed out more properties than I was actually going to use this year. And when I printed them out at the end of the year, you have until February, and then you have to report and close out those permits. And if you don't close those permits out, you lose access to those lands the following year for hunting.
Oh, wow.
And like an idiot, I totally slipped my mind. I forgot. I was working a bunch of overtime. And then next thing I know, I look and I'm 2 days too late. And I tried logging on and I was locked out. So I couldn't
Yeah.
even get on there to do it. So now, if I do hunt Illinois, which I plan on doing, right, I can only either hunt private or I'm going to have to pick completely new, different areas to hunt, which isn't a bad thing. This is going to force my hand to go to places that I've never, ever, ever hunted before.
I
But
gotcha.
but what sucks is some of the places that I printed out that I'd never hunted are places I've always wanted to hunt and never did. And now I can't hunt those either. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see the edge sword there. I mean, I Illinois was a state that when I did hunt Illinois, me and a roommate from college got, it wasn't even really a lease. It was just his family's friend has a farm out there, and we just hunted it like for 5 days. We drove out, slept in the vehicle, and hunted for 5 days in November. I ended up killing a pretty nice buck, but um since I don't hunt there anymore, he continues to go out every year, but it just wasn't, it didn't satisfy me. It wasn't big enough. It wasn't.
Oh, you got to come. So the one thing I can do though is I can still hunt federal ground. So now I can go down to like Shawnee National Forest and hunt that. So
Okay.
now I always sleep in the back of my truck anyway. I'm one of those public land dirt bags. You know what I mean? Like same thing.
Yeah.
I camp I camp in the back of my vehicle all the time. In fact, we were just down in Texas hog hunting and there was a lodge and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll just crawl in the back of my truck. And I
Yeah.
slept in the back of my truck every night. But I'm set up, you know what I mean? You're set up for it. It's like your little public land
It,
home, you know?
well, I've had some of the best nights sleep in my life in the back of my truck.
Yeah. So
It,
normally
pe-
it's the first night is the rough one, and then after that it's like smooth sailing, you know?
yeah, I don't know what it is, but so I have a 2500 Duramax, and I put a pap cap on it
Yep.
and threw down an old memory foam roll up
Oh, nice. So you got a
queen.
full size bed, huh?
Yeah, I got a full size bed. On the right hand side, I put a barrier wall, basically just some 2x4s, and then put it across to about the top of your wheel well, and that's kind of like my shelving. And then I stuff everything basically on that side, and I sleep on the other side with my sleeping bag and roll up foam. I mean, it's so comfortable. I lined it when it gets really cold. Um, I line it with just a tarp, the bed of my truck, because I have it rhino lined, and then I just put a tarp up and I carry my generator with in the back of my truck, and I have a little space heater,
Yeah.
and I just run the cord outside and run the generator at night when I'm sleeping, and I'm like, I'm toasty,
So I don't
you
do
know.
that. I'll just bring a different bag. Like I sleep super hot all the time, so it's like I never know, you know, unless I know it's going to be like super super frigid, I'll get away with it, you know, a 20-degree or 30-degree bag down
Yeah.
into, you know, actual temps that are those temps. But if it gets colder than that, I've got some other bags that are heavy duty, but that must be nice to actually be able to stretch out like that because my truck has got the 5'6" bed. It's the
Uh,
shorty bed. And so, because I got the crew cab and I don't have the 3/4 ton, so they wouldn't let me get it. And so I have to sleep at an angle. And then as I'm sleeping at that angle, I'm fine and I'm fully stretched out. But otherwise, it gets a
I
little cramped in there. But I've got
I
a
have
set of drawers and everything. So I'm elevated. It's got carpet on it, carpet on the inside of the topper. And then I put that, it's like that, it's almost like bubble wrap, you know, but it's like the
Mhm.
mylar on both sides of it. So it's like
Yep.
shiny and reflective. And I put that in there all the way. And dude, that insulates it. Just
Yeah, it's
covering
like a
those windows. Yeah.
insulation. Yeah. I've seen my setup isn't like great. Yours sounds way more sophisticated than mine, but my I with my full size bed, I just it's makeshift, because then all I have to do when I need to actually use my truck is I just
Oh,
take it,
my
pull it
wife
out.
complains about that all the time. She's like, you know, do you think you could have a truck that we could actually use as a truck instead of, I was like, we got trailers. We'll just pull trailers. It's fine.
Yeah. But my truck's big enough that my cousin and we went up to New York this year, and we both slept in the bed of the truck for 2 nights, and we killed a deer and um threw it on the back of the truck and went home, and skinned it up there at my buddy's place in New York at his little camp. And but it was big enough that both of us slept next to each other completely fine in the bed of the truck.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it'd be
Completely.
nice to sprawl out like that a little more.
Well, and that night it got down to 4 degrees, so we
You
were
were pretty close.
no, but
I'm just kidding.
we were pretty warm, to be honest with you. Like
Yeah.
he, he was kind of like, he's a military guy, so he's like, I don't know about this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then we woke up, he's like, surprisingly, I'm pretty warm. Like he's like, I stayed pretty comfy all night.
Yeah. One of the
Um,
other mods I did to mine was I got them puck lights that like they're almost like the tap it lights that you tap. I think you can tap them, but they came with a remote and they're lightweight enough. They're only like 2-3 inches in diameter, and I stuck Velcro on them, and because there's carpet on the ceiling, I got three of them.
and
And then you got the remote, so even when you're getting your stuff out of your drawers in the back, or like getting your hunting gear in the morning, you can turn them and change color and like use a green light or a red light. So it's like lower, and you can hit the dimmer, so you can still see all your stuff, but it's not as bright. But it works great for when you're in there too. I stick the remote by my head and just stick it up there, and then you know, I can tap it if I wake up or whatever and I need light, and it automatically
yeah.
comes on like the red lights. That was pretty legit, you know.
Little,
That was
yeah, little ingenuitive,
yeah,
I
that was the upgrade that I did. That was like, man, this is cool.
I'm not very sophisticated. Like when I'm pretty people say it's hardcore, but I don't know. I just deal with a lot of when I'm tired, I can sleep anywhere.
Yeah,
um, and I'll just kind of crash uncomfortable, so to speak. I don't know. As I get older, it might change. Uh, but for now, I'll continue to just keep grinding it across the
Yeah.
state. Turkey season's awesome because it's warm out. Like it's the best. It's literally you get to camp. It's getting warmer each day.
It's hard to sleep in a sleeping bag when it's warm. Like I'll
Yeah.
unzip and like hang arm out, leg out, and just have them
Yeah.
both. And it's like that's the only way I can sleep in the springtime like that when it's warm. But
So I pop my normally when it's warm, I'll just lay on top, but I'll just put my tailgate up and then keep my cap open. So you got a nice flow of air and it's nice. You can hear the cricket. Dude, it's one of the best things in the world.
yeah. So speaking of turkey season, then what's your plans for that?
So I'm going to be filming Hunter Wallace this spring. We are embarking on a spring tour. We're starting actually this weekend, going down to Florida and then bouncing all across the South, maybe make a Texas swing, maybe not. And then go to the Carolinas, work our way up north until our Pennsylvania season in a couple weeks, and then maybe do a Midwest thing, and then maybe a Northeastern swing,
So are all
depending.
those states going to be like a public land or over the counter stuff? What are they?
Um, We'll do some public. It's mainly so this spring is I was basically contracted out to film. He's starting his own. He used to hunt for Avian X, and uh last year was Rolling Thunder's Rogue Hunts, which is on My Outdoor Channel TV, I think, and a couple other streaming channels. But he's going out on his own this year, and we've stayed in connection through socials, and he just asked. So I I'm gonna do that for the spring anyway.
Are you going to try and sneak it into your own hunts or what?
Yeah, so we got a pretty open relationship. So it's um I'm doing everything professionally for him, and then I'll get some time to myself in between the hunts if we want. Just kind of playing it by ear. The main part is to get enough content for his show, and then anything in between, like it depends on how the hunts go. If we bang bang, if he bang 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 kills in like two days in a state and it's hot, I can grab a tag and he'll jump behind the camera, and we'll bang out another one. So it's gonna be a lot of running and gunning. He's got some connections just from him doing it for years, and then I got my connections for guys that I've been doing it. I've been doing the public ground grind for the past couple years down south. So it's um, just hitting people up, hunting, seeing what the word is. It's a lot of let's find what good weather and maybe travel 6 hours to the better weather to hunt for the next 3-4 days. Um, Sleep in the vehicle, you know,
Nice.
type grinding.
Yeah. No, I get it. I like it. Sounds fun. I wish I structured my life so I could be chasing that right now, doing that.
And that to a lot of people that are going to be listening to this, that's something that people have. I tell it how it is, so to speak. I set my life up strategically for this. I took really careful notice of, like, I didn't go out like I could have. When you're young, your buddies are buying four wheelers and to go riding on weekends and buy a side by side and a boat, or just toys.
Right.
Um, I just really never bought into that. Um, I think it's because of my family and my upbringing that you don't really need that stuff. It's kind of short term. And I seen the long term goal, and I set myself up for that success. My
Yeah.
cousin would love to do it with me, but he just never had that opportunity. Going to the military right at in at during college, and then he had a little boy, and then he has another boy, and he bought a house, and he's super successful, and he loves it. But he's like, man, I just my cards are different than others.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I just kind of got lucky with some strategic, not strategy to it. So it takes a little bit of motivation, but you got to play your cards right.
Yeah. No, I think it's great that you did that, and I mean it's definitely attainable for anybody. It's just a matter of how much work they want to put into it, and you know, and
That
actually make it happen. Another thing I think that stops a lot of people is the fear, right? You know, the
yeah.
fear of that unknown, or the fear of being broke, or and if you ask any successful person or rich person or anybody, if you listen to any of their interviews, the one thing that they tell you is they were never afraid to lose it all. They took
Yeah.
they took that risk, and you have to be willing to take that risk in order to make stuff like that happen for sure.
That there was yeah, that's 100% true because I've watched not only hunting things, I looked at it as a business type thing. I've watched a lot of successful entrepreneurs, the guys that you see are millionaires that are telling you to get into real estate and how they did it and their stories. And a lot of them are the same where they took risks. Um, and they weren't afraid to lose it.
Yep.
And it's that fear. And I took my outdoor hunting for a living, quote unquote, that everybody wants to say, as a business strategy. And so the business side of things is if you can stay afloat for 5 years as a business, you're going to make it. But if you break before that 5 year mark, then you're never going to make it as a business.
Right.
So I looked at it like that. And 3 years, I didn't make a dollar. Not 1 cent did I make a dollar hunting. Year, 3.5, I didn't make a dollar, but I got some, stuff and connections. And then that turned into another lead, which then I basically banked myself that I could produce what was needed. And then that turned into a sponsorship, and then it turned into another one. And then that all of a sudden it's like now you're making money, it's working. And all of a sudden the connections led to one thing, which your work panned into another. And I just looked at it as that. Now it's turning itself, but it's a lot of hard work still, but it's
Oh,
finally seeing the fruits of your labor, so to speak.
yeah, being able to see them, but yeah, you definitely have to keep putting into it for sure, and that's awesome to see it. So you guys are going on the turkey tour, and then what's your plans after that? I mean, is it business wise, focusing on yourself? What are you doing?
Yeah. So then summer, man, I'm gonna do some tack events. Um, I got some things in the works that I can't disclose at the moment. For the summer, but then the fall, I'm planning some pretty cool hunts, more adventure style DIY stuff that I'm trying. My whole thing is budget friendly, pretty extravagant hunts, and I want to kind of showcase, um, an Alaskan. I'm trying to do an Alaskan hunt, and I'm trying to show the budget on how you can. It's not really like that super expensive. Got to save up for years to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's one of the things I've noticed. So say like people always talk about, oh yeah, you can go on, moose hunt, or people put in for moose tags, and they're like, well, why do that when you can go on a moose hunt in Canada or whatever, and
mhm.
that way you're guaranteed to get a moose, and you're guaranteed, or at least guaranteed to go out there and have an opportunity and not wait your whole lifetime to draw. But at the same time, it's like, dude, Alaska is pretty freaking attainable. The tags aren't super expensive. If you play
Yeah,
your cards right, and like you're already buying gas every week or twice a week, 3 times a week anyway to go to work, use that credit card and just pay it off right away. Rack up all them points, buy yourself an airline ticket, for
yeah,
Alaska Air, and like with that mindset and doing it that way within a year, or even maybe say 2 years, you can have everything
yeah.
planned out, your money saved, and go and do it. And heck, once you figure out the logistics of it, you could probably go 4 times for the amount of money it would cost you, or 5 times what it would cost you to actually go and do it, in Canada or whatever.
That's exactly my point, and that's kind of what I'm doing is showcasing okay, I'm going to cut this corner to save a dollar, and this is going to be my cost for my airline. This is my cost for food. This is my cost for transportation. This is my cost for the tag, and now it's all on my own.
Right.
I'm here. I'm here. And now it's like it's not making me any money at so to speak when I'm standing there in Alaska, but you're not spending anymore. That's cost. It's the same breakdown as like Idaho last year. I did an over the not over it's over the counter but draw in Idaho. I killed a bull on my birthday. I'll have a video on that, but I did it, so to speak, pretty budget friendly. I drove across the country, did all my homework, my research, my all my stuff for $3,500 for almost a month. It was 23 days.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
like when you tell somebody you can go on a hunt for, 3 grand for almost a month, it would have been cheaper, but I got 3 months worth of food. Also, like that's the things that make the cost a little more.
Right.
You told somebody 3 grand you can go elk hunting and you're probably going to kill a bull, they're going to be like, when are we going?
Right. Dude, people pay outfitters ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah,
I
elk
mean,
hunting right now
$7,500 and not even, not even coming home. I know a couple people that did that and they didn't even come home with anything.
that and that's the thing. So that's kind of like what I want to showcase is like the behind the scenes of the DIY style, um, but the professional delivery. So I want it to be that documentary style hunt, the super cinematic, awesome hunt. But the leading up to that is going to be the research and contacting the State Department and learning where I should go and the backstory and the backlog.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean, is this content gonna be on any type of channel or streaming platform, or is it
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be on it's gonna be on the Void YouTube channel.
okay?
Um I already launched it, but I haven't put up any big videos to kind of really start pumping that out. Once I'm done with my clients that I'm working for now, and have basic because like this is my busy time. Like I had all the show season, going to all the shows for my clients, working. And then in this spring I'm contracted out, so I'm still busy. I do more for my clients, for my business side, the Void Media. And then once that's done, then I can focus on the summer pumping out my stuff to build up to the fall. And then it's basically back to square one and just getting content and hunting and enjoying it and kind of continuing to, get the stuff that's needed.
Yeah. So where do you see the like what's your long-term vision for the Void and your own content?
My long-term goal, I'm hoping by next year, this time I got a guy sitting beside me and he's my full-time guy, film guy, and my basically my secondary shooter for whenever we do a contract film. Um, so that's like the short-term goal. And then after that, 2, 3 years, I would like to have a full team where I continue to put it the same type of content that I like to do. But I'm a big hunter and fisherman. So the other reason I did like the void is because I can do like the void hunt and then I can do like the void fish and I can have my own team like fishing stuff and hunting stuff and then I can branch out from just like one central um platform. You can kind of have a multiple avenue of styles depending on what people like to watch
Right.
and
No, that's
consume.
great. I mean, that's kind of why I went with the whole, even though publicly challenged is mostly focused upon hunting, there'll be there's some periods where it's definitely more focused on foraging and stuff, but fishing is definitely there in the foreground too. And it's encompassing that entire, outdoor sportsman's lifestyle, right? And just trying to bring it all together, and that's cool that, it's that's kind of your goal too, to take it to that next level because uh, it's cool to see when somebody is well rounded and it's taken all the way around and it becomes cyclical, and that you kind of chase the seasons and what's
Yeah,
available. That
it's
makes a good content.
I like to say, if you look back in the history, people used to live off the land not very long ago.
Right.
At, in terms of life structure and generational things, were not far past living off the land. And it's kind of coming back to full circle. You're seeing a lot more reality TV shows and backcountry stuff, and like Alaska, the last frontier, and all this stuff. And it's like, man, it's the outdoorsmen, the hunter, and the hardcore hunting and fishing guys out there. They do this stuff for fun.
Right.
Um, but it's also they have the knowledge to do it a more extreme if they want. And I just want to kind of showcase the lifestyle that you can have the modern society in moderation with the old style of living um in today's world. Like, it's still obtainable.
Yeah. I saw a number, some statistics the other day because you brought it up, but it was like the first commercial grocery store that was available to the masses didn't come around until almost the 1950s. Before then, it was just like markets and little shops, butcher shops and little markets and things like that. Um, but other than that, it wasn't like the big grocery stores until the 50s. And then before then, it was like in the 1930s or something like that. Even it was like 70% of people's food came from their own, resources and stuff that they actually grew or raised or harvested on their own. And it's just
Yeah.
crazy to see that we've gotten so far away from that.
That and it's such a that's our grandfather's ages. Like, that's the
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's what the craziest part is. It's um there's people today that you can talk to that still use that live like that.
yeah,
Um and I get caught up in it myself with technology, being a camera guy and like the gear nerd. But I also like, trying to plant my own garden, harvest my own food, obviously, catch, cook, style, eat off the land, the healthy lifestyle, the fit things. And it's just history is going to repeat itself for a lot of people. That's one thing COVID scare did do for a lot of people, was it showed the world that they lived in
how
on
fragile. Yeah,
how fragile it is.
yeah,
Exactly. It breaks down, they're screwed entirely. Um,
yeah. There's some staggering statistics about that I've seen too, and it's like within 4 weeks, it'll be like 20% of the population would die off in the United States in just 4 weeks of
that's
completely being shut off. And I was
that
like,
that
what? I think it was 20%. Maybe it was a little less than 20%, but it was somewhere around that number
but
that
it's
in just 1 month.
so astronomical, and it's because people live the day-to-day lifestyle of the hustle, the fast-paced hustle and bustle. The people that live are a lot of our populace lives in that metro era where they don't cook, they don't clean, they live in a cubicle, they go home to sleep, they do everything else somewhere else.
That's crazy to me. I couldn't live like that. I need to be
No,
free.
and that's it. It's the freedom to do as you please, and we live in a great country to do that. And that's just kind of what I want to showcase moving forward, is just that lifestyle, and it's connectable to
Yeah.
to our outdoor, and the outdoor mindset. It's super connectable to a lot of outdoorsmen.
So what do you do you do any foraging or anything?
I don't. I have friends that do. I mean, I when I'm out turkey hunting, I'm around mushroom hunt, and certain times of the day. I know what to look for, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe some leaks here and there, but that's nothing more serious than that.
No, nothing at all. I mean, so here's my thing, like turkey hunting is great excuse to because a lot of times, so here in Illinois, they close the woods at certain times. So you can turkey hunt up until noon, or maybe it's 1 o'clock. It's like 1 o'clock or noon, but you cannot roost the birds. So you can only hunt in the mornings up into the afternoon anyway, and then the woods close, and then after 3 o'clock, mushroom hunters can go in and hunt the woods. On the public land, they have to share it. Um, so a lot of people get mad and they're like, why would we ever, not be able to put the birds to roost, do all these things, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's, a fair chase, all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty cool because if you're a mushroom hunter and you have a turkey tag in your pocket, nothing says that you can't grab a bag full of morels while you're turkey hunting and then get to all the good spots before everybody else does.
Yeah.
So that
It's
works out pretty well.
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I know my species, so to speak, in my area. I blew there. We got on top of the mountain here where I live in central PA. We got a lot of blueberries in the summer. I mean, a bunch of wild blueberries. So I'll just go out and pick buckets of wild blueberries, stuff like that. But my foraging isn't very extensive.
So the wild blueberries, then, do you hunt those for bears in the fall?
You think, yeah, but there's so many of them. They're so abundant that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, huh? Yeah, that's crazy.
Because they get picked. I mean, by August, they're gone. Like the end of August, they're done. They're completely gone. And our bear season doesn't even come in until the second or third week October.
Oh, really? It's that late, huh?
Yeah, so it's like a month and a half, 2 months from that food source. So it's that point acorns are dropping. They're in acorns and they're moving to their den site areas. And by bear season, rifle bear season, it's said that 40 certain years are different depending on our weather, snow, but it's that week of Thanksgiving. So that's our rifle bear season, and a lot of bears are already into their hibernation areas. So 40% are already denned up.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that'd be a pretty tough hunt then.
Yeah, it's people think it's like really easy to bear hunt, but I've bear hunted a lot, and I've basically seen like maybe a handful of bears while I've been bear hunting on one hand. Like
Yeah.
you don't see them.
So Pennsylvania bear hunting, how are you allowed to bait or anything like that, or do you gotta just
Nope.
hunt over whatever?
No baiting. A lot of our tradition, it's tradition to the public, is to get 25 guys together and go push an entire mountain side out, and hopefully a bear runs out in front of one of the watchers. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
drives, big long mountain drives.
I've never been part of a drive, and I don't know. To me, they kind of scare me. The
It's
whole interworking of that many people, together and pushing, and I don't even like. Uh, we just recently went on a hog hunt down in Texas, and my buddies had crossbows because they were new first time hunters, and we got them on crossbows and sighted in, and they were super ready and excited. But the whole time, you're walking through the woods trying to stock up on these things, and I keep looking over my shoulder constantly to make sure that crossbow's somewhere pointed away from me, because it's
yeah.
so much different than a bow.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic, man. You'll hear we have a lot of Amish community in certain parts of our state. I've seen bear drives where they get 50 guys, they'll get 25 watchers, 25 pushers, which is technically illegal. But there's so many people on the mountain, they can say they're another group and they have rosters and all that. But there's so many, they'll push literally every animal. They'll line up 10, 15, 20 yards apart, yelling the entire way for miles. They'll do it all from daylight until dark. And I've seen them push a mountainside for 7 continuous miles the entire way and kill everything in sight.
Wow, that's nuts. I can't even imagine it.
It's mind blowing that animals get through like year after year. It's like, how do because they do it the same thing for deer. And it's like, how do we have 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old deer?
Yeah.
On public ground? Like I will get pictures of bucks, and I have this year specifically, I have a picture of one of the biggest deer I got this year. And 3 minutes later, there's a guy walking in front of the camera. It's like, did the guy not see it? You're questioning all these things that went on.
So did you actually take that deer then, or?
No,
Okay.
I think it lived. I'm not sure that he might have gotten shot, but it's one of those things that it's like, okay, what happened? Here's the video of the deer stopping in front of the camera, looking around. He's really nice, real wide, younger deer. He's probably a 3.5 year old. I had to say, probably that mid 30s, maybe 140 level. For Pennsylvania, that's a really solid deer. And then 3 minutes later, there's a guy walking in orange with his rifle
Jeez.
in the
Wow.
snow. So it's like, what happened before that, during that, and after that? Did it get shot off camera? Right behind it? Did You don't know what went on? So it's a lot of nerve-wracking things with those drives. I don't necessarily agree with it. Um, I just because my style of hunting, and I just think it's kind of something we need to change as modern society and hunting has drastically increased. So back when driving was a big proponent on taking of game, we had higher deer numbers. We also had less like performance on our high powered weapons.
Hmm.
So yeah, we had we had our seven model sevens, 708s and things like that, but we didn't have these 1,000 yard guns that you can go set up and shoot precision. We didn't have the precision that we do today, technology, as we did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
That's interesting because my take always on things like that are, you know, tradition, unless it's actually doing real detriment to the actual game numbers or something, tradition, even though I don't agree with it, I always think it should be allowed because it's part of that culture, that heritage that I might not understand. And I'm
Mhm.
always willing to try and understand somebody else's plight and somebody else's point of view. And if that's
Yeah,
how they grew up and that's their traditions or it's ingrained in them and it's part of their culture, then why wouldn't I allow it? Just like I've got buddies that absolutely hate with a passion crossbows and think that they shouldn't be allowed within the regular archery season and it's a disgrace and they're harming numbers, and taking away tags from other archery hunters, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, man, we're all hunters and there's not that many of us.
that I've taken that same thought through this season. I mean, through the past years. The only take I take, so I do a small scientific research type thing, just locally. So I ran into a group of guys this fall up on the public that I hunt, um, and they're local, so I know them. And they had doe tags. They went to public ground to shoot does because they don't shoot does on their private ground.
That's crazy to me.
See, like that's what I'm that's but what
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is they go up with a group of them to push to shoot so it's a distinct. I noticed it from living here that down here in the valley, where it's a lot of private and woodlots, we have an explosion amount of deer. Like you'll drive down the road, I'll see 30, 40 does just along the road. You go 2 miles in the other direction onto the mountain that's all public, you won't see anything.
Hmm.
And it's because they get higher, everything's getting shot. But it's the thought process of, I'm going to take my group of 10 guys. I'm not shooting does on my private ground because I want big bucks. They don't understand the process of it. So they literally were like, I don't shoot does on my ground. So we're going to public to drive to shoot does to fill our doe tags.
Yeah.
So
So
that's where,
that's to me that's weird that they can do that. I mean, I guess like we're only allowed to do that with archery. We can't. So if you've got a gun tag and it's private land, it's private land.
yeah. See
You know.
that's something that I've also brought to attention with some that just I don't know that if it's right, if it's wrong. It's just my opinion. But just I've noticed it over the years. We have a lot of big chunks of public. Like the one I'm talking about is 45,000 acres.
Yeah. That's big
So
land. Yeah.
you'll drive across that and see hundreds of trucks, and you take a poll, and half of them didn't see a deer, a tail, a sign of deer. Um, some of them did, maybe a glimpse, but there's not a plethora of animals. The habitat's there to support them, but the game is not there because it's high graded off because of that history of, there used to be a lot of deer back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They would drive and just shoot their does.
Yeah.
And now through the years, they've been slowly taking off the numbers on the mountain, and the public letting their little private honey hole piece just get ample amount of deer,
Yeah.
because they want to, then when they bow hunt, or earlier in the year, they want to be able to see deer. But to fill a doe tag, they go up to public. I've noticed that with more than one group, and I don't know what the answer is. In your state, in your case, it's, you have to have a doe tag for public. Like
Yeah.
out west, like you can't go to that other piece of public and kill a doe. It's not, you have to have a doe tag for that WMU.
Right. So yeah,
Here,
and here in Illinois, the way it works is archery tags are for anywhere in the state. So you can hunt on public, you can hunt on private, whatever. Most of the public, you have to get the windshield permit, and then you could use your archery tags. But
yeah,
then when it comes to gun season, in order to uh, keep the numbers down, so it's over the counter or just basically apply and you get it. They call it a lottery, but uh, they want to reduce the doe numbers or the deer numbers in general
yeah,
throughout the state, just because insurance purposes, whatever. So they do that, and you can almost guarantee to get a tag for any county. And that's the so-called lottery. And then all leftover tags, which there's always leftover tags, you can go buy those over the counter for a gun. But that's
yeah.
only private land. So there's a lottery for public land for gun tags, and that public land gun tag, like there's certain units that I've applied for, and it would be, I think it was like 5 years before I actually drew a gun tag for one of them. So like you're waiting, you can put in other choices,
Yeah,
but if your choices don't make it, you're not going to get a tag, and you're not going to gun hunt public. And
our
then
state is completely like opposite,
yeah,
where you can come here as a non-resident, you can buy your gun tag, you can buy your deer tag that comes with your license. Now you have a bear, you got a spring turkey and a deer tag. And then if you apply in July, you can get a doe tag for a unit, one of our units. But our units are very, very big, which covers like 6 to 8 counties. So that doe tag is good for any ground in that entire unit.
right. Yeah.
Um, but just the guys that are local, I see just guys buying tags to have. I personally bought 4 doe tags this year. I could probably fill all 4 behind my house. But it's not going to do anything to the population in this valley, because you drive another 400 yards down the road, there's another 25 in the neighbors' fields.
Right.
But you go up on top the public, there's not that many deer. Like it struggled to see a doe in rifle season to harvest, and
Do you,
deer season.
do you think that's just because, I mean, is there any environmental factors? Like there's just more ag and more food, uh, on the private, to where there's a lot more deer that come down from the mountain? I mean, I imagine the mountain's got to be some pretty tough terrain to get all
It
your resources and nutrients that those deer need.
it is a little tougher. I do see a small migration off the mountain down in, but that the deer are high graded in the areas of the state that just private is just some, it's almost like a sanctuary. Nobody
Right.
really bothers. Like that, there's a guy down not far from me that has a shooting stand, a box blind right in the field. You can see 50, 60 deer in that field a night, no matter what. Um, and he hunts like 2 days a year. He'll go out and kill a buck, like a little nice basket rack or something, and that's it. But the deer have no fear of humans because there's no pressure.
Right. Sounds like a
It's like
good guy to make friends with then.
yeah, but
Yeah.
there's too many deer. When you have too many deer,
Yeah.
it's not good for the overall herd health. But when you take the unit and try and allocate the doe number, so then they'll go out and do a survey of that and to give the deer numbers to be able to give the tag allotment. All the deer are on private,
Right. Yeah.
yet most of the hunters that want to hunt, I don't know what the exact number is, but let's say 50% are public ground guys. They don't have the chance to harvest the does that there's the tags for. So a lot of people are eating the tag. And that's where I see the really big disconnect on our outdoor, for my state anyway. The first time hunters that go out, I brought this is a topic that I like to talk about is, okay, you get a buddy of yours that wants to hunt for the first time. Well, most likely they don't know somebody that they can hunt on their ground. Most likely. Yeah, without getting permission. So a lot of guys with Pennsylvania, because we have a vast amount of public ground, they just buy a tag and go on some piece of public because it's the easiest thing to do. And they don't see anything all year. So they have no opportunity, and now they get kind of disgruntled, and they're like, well, I guess that kind of sucked. I'm not going to hunt next year. It's kind
Right.
of a waste of time and money. See,
Yeah.
that and then our hunter numbers are dropping because there's no opportunity to even see game um to capture their interest.
Yeah. No, that's a tough dynamic there for sure. That's
So something that I don't know the exact answer, but I think the the two topics of a public land use thing, permit would be a good start because it would help just for habitat management practices, which would ultimately help out herd numbers. And then something maybe along the lines of um, allocations for certain public grounds, because I mean, there's just not a lot of deer in a lot of parts of the state.
yeah. So that's to me. I mean, I don't know. I find it crazy because our state up until this year wouldn't even allow you to use a rifle. Now you can use a rifle, but there's all kinds of regulations on it.
Yeah.
And but you you got this public land, and it's just, I mean, I could see it being like a Wild West show, and just bullets flying everywhere and on public
Oh,
land. And if everybody floods it with an orange
it is
army,
a zoo. I mean,
to me, that seems like it needs some type of regulation or tags or lottery system or something in
it
place.
it's been so, and this is what our struggle with our state here in Pennsylvania is. We've had such a hard tradition with it that they don't want to change. When we have a change, it is like so there's such a flips. There's two sides. You're either for it or you're against it.
So how's the
Um,
Sunday hunting on that one? If we're
that's
speaking
the,
of that,
that's the that's the exact issue that we're dealing with. It's like I'm all for it, and then you got old timers that's been hunting the same way forever, and they're like, it's always been this way. That's how I want it. And it's kind of like the old dog don't want new tricks type thing.
so was it a
Um,
religious thing in the first place? Was it like the day of rest, or what was the purpose
yeah,
behind it?
it was a blue law.
Okay.
Um, you can't buy alcohol. It was the day of yeah, religion. And you can't hunt on Sun. There was a whole number of them, and it's just been like here it comes again, tradition for forever. So they're just slowly changing that. And when it comes to the herd numbers for public use and stuff, like you're saying, like for tags and a certain it comes down to just neat work on the ground. The state doesn't want to put the work in to know how many tags to give out. They just kind of they give a ballpark and then go with it.
Hmm.
There's not a they ask for surveys, but it's not like a reprimanded other states. where just like you said, you have to basically return the tag and give back feedback
Yeah.
to be able to
I
have that used again.
I
But it's
screwed up. I screwed up big time
but
on
that
that one.
system but that system is for their surveying use to know what was potentially taken, what was seen, and how many
Yeah.
people were there.
So what's crazy about that though, like I get why they want it, but the data that they need as far as what was taken on that ground, they already know that because that's part of your harvest data. And that has to be reported. All harvests have to be reported. You have to tell them where it came from. You have to do measurements that you take. All these different things that you're already giving them. But the one thing that they want is they want hunter so they can do their statistics on hunter visits versus harvests on that piece of property. And I
Gotcha.
get it. That's actually great data because I use that data and
Oh
I'll
yeah.
I'll look at it and go, "Oh, okay, this piece of property, yeah, it's got 200 visits and 120 deer taken on it. That's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad odds at all,
Good.
right?
That's more
Over 50%." Yeah.
yeah. That's something, that our state just doesn't push. We don't push that. So we're supposed to, when you harvest a buck and or whatever, you're supposed to report your tags. It's not pushed to report where it is a necessity in other states where if you do not report your deer, it's a huge fine.
Oh yeah, you'll
There's
go to
giant
jail.
reprimand. Yeah, our state is like a slap on the wrist.
Really?
It is dude. There was a guy locally that shot a deer illegally off the road, poached a big buck out of his truck under a spotlight, and got $1,000 fee and paid it, and he got his and paid like $1,200 in fines, and that can't hunt for a year. That's his that for going on somebody else's ground
Yeah.
under at night shooting a big buck and then
That's
getting caught.
terrible.
But that's all we
That's
got.
yeah. Now you'd lose everything and probably lifetime privileges in a lot of other states for sure.
But our prosecution isn't as heavy, um, which causes a lot more, people just to do what they want, and that comes down to the same thing with the herd management. You need to put your when you don't harvest something, you need to report it just as much as you do harvest. And then how many did you see? I've gone to other states. It's like, okay, even though you were deer hunting, how many grouse did you see? How
Yeah,
many
that's
other species did you see? Did you see any of these? No, no, no. Yes, 5, 10, 12. All of a sudden, it's just all that's doing is collecting data from the hunter that's out there in the field.
yep, yep. Ours is bobcats, mountain lions, and how many wild boar, all that kind of stuff to just see
Yeah.
where things are migrating and traveling to.
And then all of us, yeah, exactly. But it's ultimately helping out your herd management of all species, which then they have a better understanding on how many tags to give out. And
Yeah.
it keeps the sustainability. And our state is just kind of lacking on that because of the tradition that we've had for 100 and some years.
Yeah. That's interesting. And then once again, I'm left with the whole tradition thing and you got to respect it, but I could see if it was actually doing something to the herd numbers, you know,
It it
you need to address some stuff.
in the story that you'll get from a lot of old timers here in our state, the camp goers, is back in the 70s and the 80s, we'd see 100 deer a day running the mountains because the mountains just had deer everywhere.
Yep.
But he's like, it was hard to see a buck. It was like everybody shot little scrub bucks and spikes and small deer.
Hmm.
Now you're not seeing the deer, but there's bigger deer because there's less numbers of them
And less hunters, right?
and
So,
less hunters. But it's the tradition of they used to go out and see a whole bunch of deer. Everything's different now. And they're
yeah.
now the old time guys are like, well, I'm not seeing the deer. And it's because of the old style just continuing to butt heads with the new management practices.
Yeah.
It's not integrating and working perfectly. I just think there's some steps that need to be taken and they're just slowly progressing, but not at the pace that it should be. And there's too many guys, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, how many guys did you know that could go out and shoot 1,000 yards across a canyon and shoot a deer on a power line?
Probably not that
Not
many.
Not that now today you can go to the local gunsmith and go out on a range and be hitting paper within 10 minutes at 750. You can build a bench gun.
That's guys with crossbows too. It's crazy. So
But you
I,
know what?
yeah,
Like that's kind of what my take on it is. You can go out and build the weapon that can do that. Um, and then go out and just wait and shoot at things at that distance. Whether it's ethically, unethically is another story, but it's it's a possibility now.
hmm,
But the rules are the exact same.
yeah, that's very interesting.
You're seeing the West change a lot of their, you're going to start seeing certain weights of weapons and bullets and ballistics because the ethics of shooting at an elk at 1,600 yards.
Yeah, that's it's not
That
even
that
chase at that point. There's
that's
no more
that's
chase.
that's exactly what's becoming of it. The rules were and standards for that were set way back when, so the rules have to continue to progress as technology and change progresses.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about spearing animals? What's your ethics standpoint on that?
Spearing,
Yeah.
if you're good enough to get within 5 feet of or 5 yards of an animal, I think that you've done enough research and practice that you can. I'm all for it just because it's like the chances are so slim to none. That the guys that are doing that have such a understanding of the wildlife and everything they're doing because you have to be able to get to within 5 yards of an animal and
Yep.
practice with a deer. Like it's not gonna, even if they do injure animals in a sense, they're going to do 1, 2 a year tops. Where a guy shooting at 1,000 yards, not knowing if he hit something, is is night and day.
So yeah, recently speared a pig, and I the devastation that a spear does
Oh, it's
versus
incredible.
an arrow, even if you were to have a bad placement with that spear, it's so devastating when it sticks in them and they run away that
Oh
they're
yeah,
they're dead. They're dead within 30 yards anyway.
yeah,
It is insane the
yeah,
level of lethality that those things have and the minimal amount of resistance it takes for that thing to go in. It's incredible. Like
yeah.
watching it.
It
It's
and like I said, history's repeating itself. We're
yeah,
bringing back that just people did centuries ago.
yeah. And,
Um,
and I I didn't take my spear with me the second day, and I had my bow, and I was just going to play backup for the other guys in my group, and put an arrow
yeah,
in something if it didn't go down. And I ended up stalking up on one to where I was about 5 feet away without my spear, and I'm like, and I look at the other guy, and I'm like, I grab my arrows and both of them, and I'm like, I wonder if I could do like a and spear it in, and I'm like, nah, that probably wouldn't work as good as an actual spear. So then I
yeah.
just got on them and flushed them out and pushed them towards the other guys, but uh, that experience is something else, and being able to creep up on animals and get that close. Now,
You're
granted, you might not be able to do that with a deer. You might have to bait it in, but
yeah.
nonetheless, man,
You're
it's
honing you're that style. You're honing in on your ingrained like it's in our DNA as a predatory species, as the apex predator. So you are harnessing those emotions that you have never felt before.
yeah,
That's been in your body and in your genes and genetics that we've had as humans for millennia, but you're just now feeling them because it's come to your attention to do this and try it.
Yeah, I told one of my buddies, I said, honestly, I don't even know if I want to pick up a bow anymore.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
So it's because you're challenging yourself and being that apex predator we are. But back when people had to do that, that's all they did have. They didn't have
yeah,
a weapon
right.
to reach out and touch them.
Yep,
They
yeah,
had to learn to get that close. So they were hunters and gatherers and serious people.
yeah.
Um, it's something I haven't done. I've always wanted to. I just never had the opportunity to go after pigs. The number one is what I want to do. I've never had the opportunity to pig hunt like that. Like it's just I don't know anybody, or it's just not the cards yet. It will be, but
It
that's a
will be.
bucket.
Yeah, nah, it ain't a bucket list. It'll happen for you.
Um,
We can make that happen. But that's probably a good point to wrap it up there, Jake. It's been good talking to you, man.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
where can people find you and your content that is coming to YouTube and all that stuff, so they can get in touch with you, all that good stuff?
Easiest ways through my social links, Instagram, Facebook, The Void, and then just my personal Jake Belinda on Instagram. That's kind of where I put up. I do a lot of stories, daily stories when I'm out and about, and then I'm going to be coming out with a lot of more informative style, long format things that are going to be on YouTube. So just the social platforms, The Void and Jake Belinda, and then YouTube, The Void Hunt.
Awesome, man. It's great talking to you, and good luck on your hunts this year.
Appreciate it. You too, man.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.